Welcome to Happier ADHD. My name's Marley Darling. I'm a second generation neurodiversity expert with over 17 years experience, and now I'm raising my own neurodiverse kids. You'll notice that I call the podcast a few different things, but we always explore these same topics that I've been looking at for the last 17 years. Psychology, mindset, neurodiversity, personal development, health and well-being, business, parenting, and more. So, without further ado, let's jump in. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. If my voice sounds a little bit different, it's because I've been a bit under the weather, but we're going to carry on and jump straight in. In the little big thing for this week, it was going on a nature walk, and I live in a beautiful place. There are lots of places we could go to, and when my kids were a bit younger, we used to cycle through them. There's a few beaches nearby, there's little bushwalks, there's just nice places to be. There's rock pools to look at. And so we went down to this pebbly beach, and there's not really rock pools, but there are things to look at. We found sea glass, we found cool pebbles, we found interesting rubbish that we took back. There was a black baby doll arm that looked quite old, and a snorkel mask, and some pink sea glass, which I haven't seen before. And I think the kids collected an unnecessary amount of shells that I didn't see until we were already home. But this was a part of our natural rhythm back in the day when my kids were younger. We would just get out of the house and we would choose somewhere to go, and they would be motivated to do it. And now that they're older, they're kind of a lot stiller. They're less active. They want to just sit around, and they actually really enjoy it once we do go out. No one's bickering, no one's bored, because we're just moving along and looking at things, and they play naturally, which is great and it's awesome. And I've made it an intention to do this more often, maybe intentionally set aside some time in the week and slot it into our routine, so we are putting in the effort to do this thing that used to come quite naturally to us. And sometimes it seems like, actually this is going to lead into the next thing. On my mind has been dopamine malfunction in ADHD people. And the thing with the way dopamine works and the way it malfunctions in ADHD people, dopamine is there to motivate us to do things. We get dopamine rewards when something has a good outcome, and that's how we learn as humans what's good things to do, what are not so good things to do, what we're most motivated to do. Now, in most people, you get a dopamine hit from doing something, and then the next time you do it, you get a mini dopamine hit in anticipation of doing the thing. Now, in ADHD people, that doesn't happen in the same way. So, like I'm talking about these nature walks, we might not get that little hit of dopamine when thinking about doing it. It doesn't seem appealing. It doesn't sound like it would be fun. And there is a way to work around this, which I'll tell you in a second. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about what does help motivate the ADHD brain. There is an acronym for it. INCUP, INCUP, and that stands for interest, novelty, challenge, urgency, and passion. Now, any of those things can increase the motivation for an ADHD person. My personal favorite, and some of the most common, are novelty and urgency. I love novelty. I love novelty for fun. I love doing new things, new hobbies, new activities, going to new places. It lights up my brain, and I find it really easy to get into that thing. But the problem is, even if I've enjoyed it, the next time I want to do it, I don't get that little hit of dopamine anticipation. I know consciously that I had fun last time, I had a good time, I enjoyed doing it, and I know consciously that I'd probably enjoy it again, but it doesn't pull me. I'm not automatically interested in doing it. I'm not motivated to do it. It's like there's a little part of me that doubts whether that's true. I have the memory of it being fun, but there isn't that feeling anticipated with the memory, and that lack of feeling is the lack of that dopamine when thinking about it. This can be where it's really helpful to cycle through hobbies and activities, because when you come back around to it, sometimes it can feel more novel again. Or there are other ways you can bring novelty into an activity. So if it's a hobby you like, maybe do it in a different location, or do it with some fresh materials, or try a new challenge related to it, add a new skill in. Do it with some different music. Whatever you can to bring novelty in can bring this fresh energy into an older activity or an activity you've already done that's starting to feel a little bit dull. So that's one of the strategies you can use, is bring in novelty. Bring in any of these things from InCup: interest, novelty, challenge, urgency, and passion. And you'll find they often really overlap. ADHD brains really like to do things that we're interested in, and then we like to do it in a way that is novel or has that challenge, and especially that urgency. Urgency is something that people often fall back on and find themselves just on this cycle of doing things that are urgent and need to be done. Now, urgency is a strategy that I use to get my housework done. I run off the stress of it. Having that stress and that urgency helps me do it like clockwork, and it took me a long time, and I trained myself into this through habits, and I've got some posts on my blog if you want to read about habits and ADHD and how that really takes a load off. But it's the urgent things that get done. Something that can be done at any time is often done at no time, and it's much easier to put off things that aren't urgent. Now, obviously, you know that ADHD people use this strategy in a lot of ways, often leaving things to the last minute to get that sense of urgency and use stress to push them forwards. It's not the best tactic, but it can work if you know how to harness it to do it in a healthy way that isn't going to stress you out too much or make the ball be dropped in certain areas, or cause consequences that could otherwise have been avoided. So that's a quick little note on urgency. But let's get back to those strategies about how to motivate yourself towards doing something when the dopamine isn't there to start with. So we talked about InCup and how to bring in those 5 different areas. And the other thing that I want to say, the other main strategy, is to use that conscious awareness. Like I said before, I'm consciously aware that I had fun doing this thing last time. If it felt that way last time, even if I don't feel that drive towards doing it, it's likely that once I get started, I will feel a similar way to last time. If you put someone in the exact same circumstances, why would it feel any different? If you are sick or run down or things have changed, then yes, you might feel different. But if you're just not feeling like it, but historically you have felt good doing it or felt good after doing it, it's likely that you'll feel that way again. And I talked recently about how I experienced this with starting up doing yoga again, and I didn't have that motivation, but once I did it, lo and behold, it did feel good. It was just like how I'd remembered it, even though I had been doubting that it would actually feel the way that I felt last time. And again, that just comes down to the way our brains work with this dopamine function. A very useful thing to ask yourself is what feels good to have done. Not what feels good to do, what do I want to do right now, but what feels good to have done, and then come at it at that place of you will reach that point of feeling that way. If you do this thing, that is the outcome for this thing, even if you don't feel that way now. So to bring it back to what I said earlier, that's how I feel about these walks, even if I don't feel particularly motivated. And sometimes I think, well, it'll be much the same as last time. There's not going to be that novelty there. But I can tell myself, well, maybe we'll see something that we didn't see last time. Maybe the clouds will be different. We'll see something in a rock pool. The other day we went somewhere and there was a very tiny brand new Shih Tzu puppy on her first walk out ever, and it was adorable. Sometimes we go out and it's much the same, but other times we go out and we see something new, we find a treasure, we have a different experience, and even if it is much the same, maybe we'll have different conversations, or my kids will be growing up slowly and suddenly one day it will be different. The way I go for walks with them now, it's the same but different to when they were little. They're grown up now, and one day they'll be fully grown. The other thing we can do is set some kind of challenge, like we could set a point that we want to walk to. That really helps me if we know exactly where we're going to walk to and from, like where is that turnaround spot. Or particularly for walks, you can add in extra things like sometimes we'll do a Pokemon Go walk, but I don't love the focus on the screens, but it is a way to get out of the house and do a walk. Or we're thinking recently we might like to start geocaching and finding these treasures. In the past, we've hidden Taz rocks, which has been something novel and new. And also had that kind of meaning making behind it, that we can put something out into the world and it feels bigger than yourself. Maybe we might go on the hunt for something, a particular kind of stick, or we might go collecting rocks, or we might try and find a particular thing, or we might do a scavenger hunt. Gretchen Rubin has a great saying that a quest is more fun than a jaunt. And you could use this in the literal sense of walking or going and running errands and doing whatever. You could use it in the sense of going to an art museum and looking for a particular piece. You could use it in the sense of you're going out to do your errands, but you're also going to get a treat on the way. Or you can use that term in constructive, creative ways, such as in your work, like instead of sitting down to write, having an end goal, like I will write a paragraph. When setting out to exercise, have a clear end goal, like I'm going to walk 3 kilometers on the treadmill, or whatever it might be. If you're going to bake a cake, maybe it's a cake for a special occasion. Maybe you'll decorate it in a certain way. You can add this whimsy into whatever it is that you're doing. Add the quest element in. Make it new, make it novel, make it fun. And now on that note of whimsy, we're going to go into the next section, which is wins and workarounds. And this week, we need a workaround. There has been so much bickering lately in my household, and screen time has increased. So these have gone hand in hand, and it's just been a challenging couple of weeks. Part of this is I brought out the screens in a new routine to get my kids to do educational tech while I'm working. And now it just crept further in. My kids were hassling me in the morning, asking when it's time to start, and they were losing their spark, losing their creativity, just focusing on those screens, and it became quite stressful. And we just really need a screen break to rebalance and get back to plugging into the real world and to feeling capable without screens. It really makes me sad to hear children say, I need a screen, there's nothing to do, I can't do XYZ without having a screen. And I understand that. But the thing is that when they are used to this level of dopamine, that's what their brain is going to be telling them. And when my kids tell me that, when they feel that they need it, that's when I know they need a break from it. They need to learn to be without it. They need to sit with that discomfort. I tried to cut it down. I tried to talk through with them about the rules, the expectations, what's reasonable, what's not, but it was too much of a grey area for them. So what I had to do is just say, nope, you can do your Duolingo, you can keep your Duolingo streak, but no, we're not going to do any educational apps at the moment. We'll go to the library to get real books. We just need a break until I can stop being hassled. Because what happens is when their brain knows that it's an option, it keeps seeking it. And if I say no to one thing, they'll keep asking for a different app, until maybe they catch me at a moment that I'm busy doing something else and I end up saying yes. Maybe they want to read on their tablet, and then if I'm letting them do that, sometimes they'll say, well, can I just have a play on this educational app? And it just snowballs for them and for me. So we needed this clear break, and it's been a couple of days now, and they'll say, look, I'm bored, I have nothing to do, what am I supposed to do? And there is so much to do in our house, and slowly it comes back, their creativity comes back. I tell them, look around, go and find something to do. Or I can treat them like younger children, like toddlers, and strew activities for them, set something up for them, help them engage in something. I think the solution sometimes to minimizing screen time is to crowd it out. Use the crowded out method. Increase fun and joy. Increase the other things that they're doing. If they have less time for the screens, if they're busy doing other things, then it won't be such an issue. If they feel like they have this big gap, this huge amount of time that isn't catered for, that they're not getting dopamine, I can see how they feel like that's the only option, but it just takes that readjustment to get them back to the stage where they can just be kids. They can just find something to do. They can be okay with not doing anything. And when kids say they're bored, what I say to them is that feeling, that's being calm. And boredom is where creativity lies. Boredom is an opportunity. When I was a kid, we had TV, and we had some games, and I did watch quite a bit of TV, but eventually you get bored. The thing with tablets is that there's a whole world on there, and if you're bored, you can just switch between things, and it becomes this cycle. It's a beautiful thing when they can get bored, when they can go outside, when they can find new things to do, when they can talk to each other and rebalance. So that's a little bit of a workaround there, is working around the screen time. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was bickering and how to work around bickering. When kids are bickering, they're often bored, they're lacking dopamine, they don't have something to do, so they're poking at each other to get a reaction and engage their brain, have a challenge, maybe input some passion and emotion, and it can kind of almost potentially relate to the in-cup that we said before. It fuels some kind of need, but it's no fun. It's exhausting. We've had a few times lately where the kids have just been arguing through me. So, Mum, she did this, and then the other one responds and says, Mum, she did that, and I'm not even saying anything, but I'm in the middle here getting attacked on both sides. And no one's happy. And to be honest, it's really boring for everyone. So maybe it meets a particular need, but that need could be much better met in a different way. So like I said with the screens, increasing fun and joy. If the kids need dopamine, find a way to get dopamine. Often the first step is to have a circuit breaker, because they can just go at it and they don't seem to hear rhyme or reason. These kids don't respond to reprimands or punishments or threats of things that might get taken away. They don't respond to that. They are right in the moment. They see their opposition and they want to fight against it. So as a circuit breaker, they need time apart. Maybe they need to go to their bedroom and have alone time, or maybe they need to go outside. Maybe they need a change of scenery. Or maybe they need something to spark a change in that moment, whether it be a new activity or a hot chocolate or a snack or something like that. But they're not going to listen to too much communication. They are in this fight or flight. They're in fight mode. They're not going to listen. You can put something in front of them as a circuit breaker, or you can try and get them to go to a different place. And to do that, it can be helpful to just repeat the same phrase rather than to try and explain why, try and have this big lengthy conversation, try and use threats or manipulation or belittling or guilt tripping or anything like that. Whatever the words coming out of your mouth, keep them minimal. Know that behavior is not acceptable. If you do that, you need to go somewhere else. Then if they do it again, then it's the consequence. So I think it's the magic 1, 2, 3 method that tells the expectation and the consequence. And then if they do it that third time, then the consequence happens and you follow through with that, and they know and they learn that that's what's going to happen. Now, this consequence is obviously a natural consequence. It's important to keep it natural and relevant because we're not looking for punishments, we're just looking for solutions. So that circuit breaker is the first step. They might resist it, but they need it. The other thing that I repeat to my kids if they are arguing with each other or they're just being really negative and complainy is phrases such as be kind, courteous, or quiet. If you can't be kind, be courteous. If you can't be courteous, be quiet. And I expect that of them. If you can't say anything nice, if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say anything. And lately they've been really going at it. And then I've said, look, if you're not going to be quiet, I'm going to need you to leave the room. I reinforce that it's not okay to treat people like that, and it's quite negative, and it's fine to have your feelings, but we don't need it expressed in a way that's attacking other people. If you have a complaint, it's either something that I can help find a solution, but if it doesn't have that solution, if it doesn't need a solution, if it's just a complaint, I actually don't need to hear it. If they want to vent and let me know about something, they can do it in a way that's not attacking me, that's not being really negative and angry at me and feeling like I'm the punching bag. I'm here for them, but I'm not here for that. For my kids, the phrase treat others as you would like to be treated has never worked, because they've flipped that and said, well, if she's treating me like that, obviously she wants me to treat her like that. And they just use it as a justification of their fights. So personally, I just reinforce the treat other people kindly. If you can't be kind, be quiet. And if you can't be quiet, go and get some space. Go and refresh yourself, have a break, regulate your emotions, and come back when you can treat other people with respect. So that's the three, I think, ways I've been dealing with this bickering and screen time: is reduce the screen time, increase the fun, and add some dopamine, and have a firm strategy for when they are bickering and how to create a circuit breaker in that. And ultimately, it's a bit of a cycle, and not having that screen time, reinforcing how we treat others, and then increasing that dopamine and joy will get them back on track with these intense moods that we've been having lately. And sometimes it feels like a bit of a cycle, but like I've said, things work in cycles and we can learn from them. We can try differently next time, and we can get things back on track when we know the right strategies and how to approach a challenge. This week in Life Lounge, we're going to talk about social well-being. So we've been speaking about kids treating each other with respect. We've been talking about dopamine and feeling good, and obviously social connection is a big part of that. So this week, what I've been thinking about is creating beautiful opportunities for connection. The older I get, the more I'm learning that everyone is a potential friend. Previously, I've had social anxiety, I've had small friendship groups, I've really appreciated the friends that I've had for long term, but as I get older, I meet at least a new friend every year, and so many people are friendly, so many people are interesting, and I'm really realizing that so many people out there are potential friends. It might not feel that way. There's a whole different perspective that I used to have, that person doesn't seem like my kind of person. They probably don't like the things that I'm interested in. But if you feel like you're not connecting with someone, maybe it's a matter of asking more and getting to know them more and finding that common ground. How do you know, if you haven't asked them, if they love your favorite book? How do you know that they don't love your favorite TV series? How do you know that they didn't have the same obsession as you did in high school? How do you know that they don't love baking cakes like you do, or have the same hobbies or interests, or whatever it is it may be? There are so many facets to a person, and they are not displayed above their head with a neon sign. These things are within them, and those people may look at you, they're not going to instantly know that you have connections and similar interests as they do. So we can get to know people, we can have these opportunities, and it might be scary, but it's so rewarding. If you can put yourself out there a little bit, if you can find the right questions to ask, instead of asking, what do you do for work, which can be a good one, or talking about how's the weather, you can say, so what's your passion? What's been bringing you joy lately? What's something that has always really interested you? If you can find that thing, it might be something you're interested in, or it might be something that's just interesting to hear about, because when people start talking about their passions, they light up, they have a lot to say, they bring the interesting things to the surface. Now, the other flip side of this is, if you want to create more connections, if you want to feel closer to people, open up, invite people in, let them know a bit about yourself. Make yourself appealing, not on the surface level, but be the kind of friend you want to be. Express that, show that, open up a little, be friendly if you want to be friendly. You don't have to, don't change your whole personality, but just consider what it is you would like to see. Be the change you want to see. Treat other people you want to be treated. Express yourself in the way that you would want to see from other people expressed. Like if you would be really interested in people dressing in a certain way and you want to dress that way but you're a little bit shy to do so, maybe you could use that as a motivator. If you express yourself outwardly, then your people can find you. If you are your true self, you can connect with people better. Sometimes we hide parts of ourselves away because we think that they are different, they are quite niche. But the thing is, if you express them, if you're open about them, not necessarily having a big sign above your head, like I said, you don't need to go yelling at people about it. You don't need to have it on your Facebook profile or your social media account. You don't need to have a t-shirt with it written on there. But if you're not shy about it, if you're open about it, it's more likely that you will find that connection. You get out of life what you put in. So if you inject enthusiasm, if you give people friendliness, if you open up to other people, you're more likely to get that back. And the other thing is you could create opportunities for connection in terms of inviting an acquaintance to get to know you better. Like maybe you want to go to an event together or get a cup of coffee together, or you could ask them if you'll see them at a somewhat related event. Like if you know them through work, maybe you can ask if they're interested in a certain conference, or if you know them through your kids, maybe you can tell them about some cool event that's coming up that you're going to go to. I find it's really great to be a mum because you can get to know people better. You have an instant connection and an excuse to get to know people in a closer way by having play dates and having more time to talk to them. So if you're a mum and you're interested in someone as a friend, then maybe go for it. The other thing is, if you've got a group of friends, you can take it to that next step of making them closer friends by inviting them to something outside of the usual. So if you've got mum friends who you've known for a long time, maybe you could suggest doing something for the mums and bringing it into this slightly closer circle of friendship, rather than whether it be at acquaintances or friends. You can make it feel more intimate. You can bring this closer bond. You can open people up more by having opportunities for connection, by running fun events and just seeing if people are interested. You can bring some whimsy in by having a garden party or a comedy show evening, or have an at-home spa day while the kids play. Whatever it might be, there's so many opportunities out there to bring whimsy and joy into life and to connect with the people around you. In Joy Break this week, it's related. I collected some Taz rocks on our little walk. They were very small, little round pebbles, and they're so cute. And I decorated them with little hearts that I'm going to just sit them around the place as something that people can find. It's always fun to find a Taz rock. It brings that little bit of whimsy and joy to the day, that little bit of excitement and dopamine. And it's a way to just connect with the community and feel like you're doing something that maybe will make a stranger's day happy and put some little joy out into the world. And when we put joy out into the world, it makes for more joy. If we can make people feel happier, then they might make the people around them feel happier, and they might pay the joy forward. So I really love that as a really simple thing that can be done, and it's just fun and cute. So that's been bringing me joy. And as for letting go and letting in, I'm letting in a balance of work and fun, and bringing back the fun after focusing so much on work. And like I said, with the kids, trying to balance their tech to make sure we're having enough fun and getting outdoors enough, and everyone's feeling regulated and being kind to each other because they feel good. When people feel good and happy, they treat other people well. So that's the aim, is to make everyone feel good and happy. And I'm letting go of having too much focus on the structure and the practicality. So we've worked on bringing this routine into our life. We've got an excellent foundation now. But now that we've got that, we can have space for things that are different. So doing more walks, doing art here and there. We've got our structured activities. We've got more days at home. I've slipped in the times for me to work, and now it's time to bring in those afternoons of fun on those days after I get some work done in the morning. So I'm really excited to let in these fun and whimsical adventures and activities and make us all more joyful, and maybe make the world in general more joyful in these little ways that have somewhat bigger impacts. So thanks for listening to the podcast episode. I think I'm going to write a blog post on this. No guarantees when that will come out, but I'm going to work on lining things up and making blog episodes and podcast episodes that overlap, at least at times, because I know I won't always have the same things to say. But to keep in touch and on top of that, find my Substack. I'm Marley Darling, and the Substack is Happier ADHD, which is easy to find. And you'll find posts there that are really practical about like habit forming, and things that are more fun, like about Whimsy and bringing in joy, and pieces like how dinner times look different in the ADHD family, so more observational blogs. And you'll also find links to my Elvaria meditations and to my poetry, which is about neurodiversity and love and life and parenting. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So you've got neurodiverse kids in your life. You've probably noticed that they don't respond well to traditional parenting techniques or discipline or ways to get them motivated or to comply. Maybe you're tearing your hair out with stress and the same old struggles and fights and arguments every single day. Or perhaps you're feeling completely lost because you've tried absolutely everything and it just doesn't seem to work. These kids do not respond to behavior charts. They don't respond to power being asserted over them. What these kids need is something completely different. And what I'm going to suggest to you is you actually stop trying to change them. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. And you cannot change these children. You cannot control their behavior. But if you change something around them, you change their environment, you change how you act, it will change how they react. It will change how they respond. If you change something, then no longer will you be stuck in this cycle of doing what you've always done and getting what you've always got. And those traditional methods do not work. So stop wasting your time and energy on them. I know you're looking for a solution and you feel like it's just not possible anymore, but let me tell you, I was in the exact same boat, and then I realized what we need is to do something radically different. My approach is to change the environment around them and to change how you interact with them, and that will have the biggest impact. It'll stop you feeling like your head is butting up against a wall, and it will start actually creating change with less effort. I believe in small, easy to implement shifts that create big change. So if you're interested in seeing what I have to offer, head over to marleydarling.com, and I've got a free webinar there for you to check out, and then comprehensive programs that cover everything I've learned in over a decade of parenting neurodiverse kids, and also in being a neurodiverse person myself who's been studying neurodiversity for over 17 years. I'm here to help you. I'm here to give a different approach, and I wholeheartedly believe that we need a radically different approach to support these children, to empower them to live the best lives possible, and to give you a bit of a break as the parent. So head on over to marleydarling.com, where you can find some free resources and maybe check out my comprehensive programs if you're ready to see a massive difference in your life through just some small shifts. See you there.